Do you think you had to go through all of that? That was your destiny, that in order for you to be the man that you are today, that you had to go through that?
No, I mean, it kind of made me who I am now. And who knows, if I didn't go that exact route, I don't know if I'd be the same right now.
Welcome to Real Estate U, the guest series. And today I have a very special guest, a person who's really near and dear to my heart. He's been with my company since 2015, and he's a veteran agent, and we're going to go over his career trajectory and how he generates leads, how he has built his business. So any agent that's struggling out there, or any agent that's brand new and wants to know how to do the business, stay tuned. This is going to be an episode that you don't want to miss. Frank Tees, welcome.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you for the warm introduction.
So you started with our company in 2015.
That's correct.
Did you have any prior real estate experience to that?
None.
And what industry did you come from?
Retail.
What were you doing?
Managing a Sam's Club down in Pleasantville.
What was that experience like?
Long, tiring, working nights, weekends, holidays. Grows on you.
Yeah, I can
really
imagine.
Wears you down.
So it was like more of a 9 to 5, or was it a?
It was when you're needed. It could be a 6 a.m. to 6 at night. It could be a 9 at night to 2 a.m.
And prior to Sam's Club, what did you do, business-wise?
Well, I went to school. I went to Connecticut School of Broadcasting for radio.
Broadcasting?
Yeah.
Are you kidding me? I didn't know that.
Yeah, that was I did that in 2007.
So this is all familiar to you then?
Nah, podcasting wasn't around back then.
Oh, there was no podcast back then?
No.
Huh? Oh, I see.
Not in 2007, there wasn't.
Okay, right.
No, but that was during a tough time in the economy, so kind of phased out of that and went into retail from there, and just had enough around 2013.
Right.
2014, that's when I started real estate school.
What was the fateful decision? Was there a moment that you remember that it just struck you, hey, that's what I want to do?
Well, to get out of retail was my kids were little. My father at the time was diagnosed with cancer, so he only had a few months to live. Realized that doing nights, weekends, holidays, kind of missing everything. Knew if I left the business, I was going to either take a big pay cut or quickly figure out a career that was going to kind of compare my salary to what it was, and just jump with both feet in the real estate once I went to real estate school.
What did you think that you would have success right out of the gate?
No, not really. I knew I was going to have to work hard to, get where I was.
So you remember when you showed up at my Hamilton office, and we had the interview, I recall, and I was like kind of scratching my head. I said, I don't know what to make of this guy. He's like, what was your recollection of that?
Well, it was, I was already had my mind set on signing on with another company. We'll leave that unsaid.
Oh, well,
but
we could talk. You don't have to mention the company name, but we could talk about that. That's cool.
Yeah, I was already going to sign on with a friend at his business, at his brokerage, and said to my wife at the time, I said, look, I want to interview with one more company, smaller company. We see his signs all the time heading down the shore. I said, I want to talk to Joe Wiesner first and then set up the interview with you. I remember going in, I had a great feeling walking into the office. Wasn't overwhelming. Sat down and, once I left there, I called my wife at the time and said, I got to call so-and-so and break the news that I'm not going.
Wow.
How come? Going with Joe Wiesner. From that interview on was no-brainer.
So not from my own selfish knowledge, but what was it that swayed you in that, I guess it was an hour meeting? What swayed you?
The fact that, your office was in the Hamilton office. Your office was right next to the front door, and you said, "You ever have any questions? You ever need to talk to anyone? My door's right there, and it's always open." Just knowing that, I didn't get that from anywhere else. Interviewing with bigger brokerages was always, the perimeter was all glass offices with the big head honchos.
Right.
In the middle was all the newbies in the cubicles, and it just always felt a disconnect within the office.
Right.
But when I interviewed with you, it was just that, welcoming feeling. Always, if I needed something, I knew exactly who to go to and when.
And then we followed through on that. Like we
always
we did. So it was a really great mutual relationship right from the beginning that way. So my recollection when you came in, and these interviews are always fascinating to me, is you never know. You just don't know who's sitting across from you.
No.
You didn't know really much about me. You saw some things, this and that.
Just by going down the shore all the time, seeing, bus signs.
If I recall correctly, you came in sideways, baseball cap. It was red, if I recall correctly. Maybe Chicago Bulls.
Probably Phillies hat.
Phillies hat.
Yeah, it was towards October. It was September, October.
But then you had another jersey on at the same time. But I think it was from a different sport. And I'm like, I don't know. What do I make of this guy first glance? Can this guy sell anything?
That was...
And I think that you had told me, maybe I have it wrong. Were you in the car business too? Like, were you selling cars at the time?
Yeah, at that when I left Sam's Club to kind of get the income, going while going to real estate school. I worked with a old neighbor of mine in used car business. I went to the auctions, spent a couple $1,000 on 3-4 cars, and then sold them, online.
So that fits just right. Used car salesman goes into real estate, right? How many times have you heard that?
Often, but it's after later in life going to new car business. The two businesses are not even remotely close.
Right.
They sound the same, but you don't take a car agent to the dealership with you.
So that's we hear that occasionally, but the real estate business, I would imagine, is quite different than the car businesses.
Oh, very.
What? How do you contrast that?
I mean, you don't have, when you go to buy a car, the customer is always trying to talk invoice pricing, trying to, I know you guys are making X amount. You can lower the price to this. The negotiation's different when it comes to real estate and cars.
And your closing ratio, I would imagine selling cars would be much higher than in real estate?
Yeah.
Because when somebody shows up on the lot, they're kind of, committing in a way at that point. Whereas when you're meeting a real estate client, you're kind of not sure what the motivation is most of the time right up front. You got to
the size of the purchase is completely different.
Yeah.
So when you got somebody going to buy a car, for them to go out of their way to go to the dealership that day, they're going to buy a car.
Right.
When somebody goes to buy a house, especially a first-time home buyer, you might go out looking, and they may be overwhelmed at first. You may not talk to them for another 3 weeks later because they were just shell-shocked. So it's different in a lot of ways.
Did you have a good mentor with the car business, like where you actually learned how to sell? Or did you just organically learn it yourself?
Pretty much organically myself. And when I was doing the used cars, that wasn't so much as being on a sales lot. That was going to the auction. I'd buy 3-4 cars.
Oh, okay.
Then I'd list them on like Craigslist at the time, or
I see.
Facebook Marketplace was just coming out, and then people would call on specific cars. Then they would just come look at it and then buy it as if it was selling it myself.
So it's not what I'm picturing in my mind, 1960s running out in a green suit, yellow tie.
Not until later. Yeah, when I left real estate a couple years ago, that's when I was at Toyota working at an actual dealership.
I see. Well, so it's a sales experience, but a completely different sale.
Yeah.
Yeah, different atmosphere. So when you came in, I'd like to have you tell the story a little bit. Brand new, right? Really didn't know real estate at all, right? You just passed your real estate exam, come into my office. We're not sure what we have, never are. And at that time, we were really transitioning from the old analog system to digital everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, whether it be, the marketing apparatus. So we were just plugging in like social media. We were just plugging in Google. We were just plugging in all that stuff. So your timing was perfect. And we had the program where, the new agents for a limited amount of time would be able to utilize the company leads that were being generated.
Right.
So we threw some leads at you just to see if you could handle it, right? As we do with all our new agents. And you just ran with it, man, right? I remember we gave you some renters in the beginning, which are, somewhat more difficult and not real profitable oftentimes for the agents. But you were able to build good relationships, and those turned in this referral business later, and it worked out great. But you were able to convert like no other agent the leads that we gave, and they weren't all real high end in the beginning, if I recall, but you worked tenaciously all of those leads, and it was like unbelievable. I believe, let me see, I have it here. You did 30 transactions in your first year, like 12 months. That's 30 transactions in 1 year. 5 of those were rentals, 25 were sales.
Yeah.
Tell me about that.
Well, it's first off, when you first become an agent, if that's the only thing you're doing trying to build your business, the rentals aren't bad because it's a quicker payday. So if you're doing real estate full time, everybody knows that once you put somebody under contract, it's going to be 30, 45, 60 days. So getting the rentals in the beginning definitely helped because I was getting paid, sooner than I would have if I didn't have them. But my first lead was, I remember, and I still have this client today, was a $2 million cash buyer for commercial. And I got that. When I got the email, Jen said, I don't know where this is going. I know you're new. Just give them a call and see where it goes. Well, it went far. I mean, didn't close that specific lead, but that lead turned into referrals. That lead actually was a guy named Tracy. He was looking with a friend that was looking for a warehouse. That friend, they stopped talking early into the transaction. But I did retain Tracy as a client, and he has either sent me, bought from me, or sold with me at least 9 transactions. So one lead turns into 9 transactions over a few years, of course, now. And the business relationship continues, right? I see Tracy, I see his name, come into the office, often these days. So that's good. Yeah, he was my first lead from the office, and he stayed loyal for years.
So you call him. Did you know what to say?
I just kind of read what Jen sent me, looking for this property in this town, and that's what I, just repeated to him.
In that one, it's, we always promote that we get our buyers pre-qualified. Did that happen with this one, or did
we had to get a proof of funds because
is that what
cash?
We did? It's a cash deal.
Yeah.
So and that's what we did is we got proof of funds.
Yeah.
And proof of funds is just a statement from a bank or a stock portfolio.
Right, showing same thing that a mortgage pre-qual says. This is how much I have.
Did you find that to be a difficult conversation to ask? Hey, show me the money.
No, especially because if I was the seller selling that to him, and it always gets to the end of the date or the end of the dinner, and it's always, well, you're going to pay me now. But knowing that I was on the buying side working with that person, they knowing that in order for us to get that property, we have to at least show
Right.
them that we're capable.
Right, because I don't think the buyer a lot of times thinks it all the way through. When you present that offer on their behalf, that seller is expecting that there is proof of funds or a letter from the bank there.
Right, especially a high dollar amount like
Absolutely.
that. It's, you know, I could say, I want to buy a $2 million property, put an offer in, but if I'm not showing that I can buy it.
Right.
You
It
know.
shows commitment, and it just shows that you have the wherewithal to make it happen.
Yeah.
So that was a good deal. But then you did, 29 other deals after that.
Yeah, that was,
And I remember that we would send them, and you would close them, and your close ratio was better than anybody's in, my history of being around real estate for quite a long time. What was your secret to being able to close so quickly?
just doing what the client asks, going to bat for them. Any lead that came into the office, I called them right away. I didn't waste any time.
Like, what's the speed on that? Like, so Jen would, the lead would come in any which way it comes in, typically electronically through the company. Jen calls you, or does she email you? What?
She'll shoot me over an email, and if depending on what info she gives me, if that lead already has a property in mind, I'll do a little bit of homework. I'll look up the property first, and then I'll call probably like half hour later once I do my homework.
Right.
If she sends over a lead as a buyer, just started looking, I'll call them within 5-10 minutes.
Man, that's like the art of it, isn't it? Doing a little bit of prep work, just kind of understanding, what we're telling you as the office, as far as, some backstory and, what's that personality type like. And, those things are really, really important. And then when you're actually looking into the property and you kind of know what their business is, that might trigger other ideas that, hey, I have these other properties that you would be interested. And then you're not just presenting the one property, but other properties. And those properties are scattered throughout the MLS. It's not just the company listings. And the
Right.
people, the buyers appreciate that.
Yeah, it's so many times, especially early, I'd talk to a lead and they say, look, you're my third realtor.
Oh my God, that's so true.
You asked us for our wish list and you sent us properties that had that criteria in it. With the last two realtors, we either were sending them all the houses we wanted to look at,
Right.
or they would ask us what we wanted, and we say we wanted a 4-bed, 2.5 bath, but that agent would send us a 3-bed, 1 bath. We wanted a basement, they'd send us no basement. So you have to just do what they ask.
Or they don't call back at all.
Right.
So that's what is, the surprising truth about, you mentioned the speed, but the speed is incredible at which you were able to communicate, but you got back to them and there was a system where you would stay in contact with them even after, that initial call and what happens next. And it's really important, the follow-up part of that.
Yeah.
And that's another lost art in being able to transact a lot of business.
Yeah, especially like they start having faith in you pretty fast when they're talking to our office, and then it's going from our office to agent, and they're thinking off the bat, well, is it even going to make it to the agent, or how long is it going to take their office to get back to me? So it's going full circle pretty fast.
Right, and that's what was refreshing about our office. Like when the public would call, they got a live person.
Right.
Back in the day when Zillow was really, really popular, they would, kind of hand you off from one. You'd have to call the central office somewhere, anywhere in the world for that matter. And then you would be handed it off to another company and they would not call. And then that lead would have to transfer to another. And it was just like, nobody wants that.
Yeah, it got lost in translation pretty fast.
Right. So it was that direct speed and the courtesy of service and the respect for other people's time.
Right.
And that's what's really, really important. So out of a cannon, right? 30 transactions first year. Unbelievable.
Yeah, it was a good year.
Then the second year, you really understood the business. You just knew it. and you did 49 transactions in that year. So tell me about how that escalation, that's a pretty big escalation, 30 to 49. And the viewing public needs to know out there that the average real estate agent sells 0 to 3 properties a year, and so, some of the more average statistics in real estate, if you're doing 15, that's kind of like average. When you start getting into that 30, 40, and close to 50 mark, you're in elite territory, and you got there in your second year.
Yeah, that was that contributed from the leads from the office and coincided with the referrals from the first year's leads from the office. And those two combined just started snowballing from there.
So the referral base is built, and that's my philosophy, is that if we can have a good agent build that base, then that's what triggers other business down the road. And you were able to follow up and make all that happen. So it worked exactly the way as it was designed. And I would imagine that a lot of those original clients are still with you.
Yeah. There was a gap in basically employment in real estate for a good year and a half. So I kind of lost touch with a lot of them. Mm-hmm. But as I got back in, I was, reconnecting with all my past clients and was able to reestablish a relationship with them.
So then there's a third year, and you have another really good year, in real estate. And then we parted ways for a while. What was the path? Like, I think this is important because it's all too common in real estate, and the pressure to keep great agents and the amount of attention that the top agents, and you had proven yourself at that point to be a top agent in all South Jersey. So the owners and brokers, they know that there's a lot of conversation that happens behind the scenes where they're trying to recruit agents away from a company.
Right.
Was that your experience? Did that happen that way?
No, it was more on the personal side, not the business side. Mm-hmm. I was going through personal issues with marriage and things of that sort. So, as I was in a big blur, I had the great idea or mindset that maybe maybe I need a full change of scenery. Maybe, I'm out of the house. I need to make changes all over the place. So thinking the grass might be greener on the other side. Right. Maybe, changing offices changes up the whole, stage for me. And it didn't work out so well. It wasn't even close to what I thought it would be. And not only once I left, I basically left the business as a whole. Mm-hmm.
Wow. So you flip the switch, right? And you're just thinking that I need a clean sweep here, and I just need a do-over in every which way. And sometimes people need to do that, right? So you were able, though, through all that, to find your way back then.
Yeah.
Right. So
yeah, it was. I think it was. Was it 3 years later?
And I don't mean just to gloss over it. I don't know how much you want to talk about all of that.
I would get into.
But life is happening. All the time. Your family is growing, and you're trying to grow your business at the same time, and that's not easy to do. There's huge time constraints that are placed on you in real estate. And then if, certain elements within the family aren't used to a entrepreneurial mindset, more used to like a 9 to 5. And I don't know if that was your case in any which way, but it's a whole different world when you are managing. If you're doing almost 50 deals in a year, how many phone calls is that? How many meetings is that? How many closings is that? How many showings is that? It's like, how many miles is that on your car? It's just like, it's this huge undertaking. And certain people are going to support you and run with you in that endeavor. And if you have people that aren't going to run with you, then that's where you fall into, like, there's a big disconnect here, and I'm speaking for you perhaps, and you could cue me in if I'm right. I'm just trying to build my family here, and I'm trying to build wealth for my family, and I'm trying to be that rock for my family. And I believe you were doing that.
Yeah, I mean, success, I guess, came pretty fast. Yes, I was busy out of the house more times than not. The support system was good all the way through. The issues that came about were kind of self-inflicted. So once it imploded in one area, it kind of imploded in other areas too, whether it was career, marital, things like that. So once all the smoke's, it's smoky, but life's still going on.
Right.
Bills are still coming in. I'm now trying to transition into, a new life, a new start, and everything just kind of passed me by that fast, where I was stumbling to get back on my feet and basically had to, throw the life raft and
Right.
vacate real estate altogether, go on a different path, which I was going for a while, got back on my feet, and then rounded back into real estate a few years later when I did it finally had a clear head again.
So life happens.
It does.
You gotta you either get run over, I guess, or you get back up.
Yeah.
So
if you get run over, you either get back up or stay down.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
if you stay down, you eventually have to get back up. So the longer you wait, the harder it's going to be.
Do you think you had to go through all of that? That was your destiny, that in order for you to be the man that you are today, that you had to go through that?
No, I mean, it kind of made me who I am now. And who knows, if I didn't go that exact route, I don't know if I'd be the same right now. But looking back on it now, if I would have just focused on one problem and not let it affect every area, and I think if I stayed where I was at to start in my career, things would have been a lot easier on that personal front.
Right. It's been said that the brain really, even though we like to trick ourselves into thinking so, we can't really multitask. Let alone make amends for all this chaos that's happening in your life at certain times.
Yeah, if I would have just tried to, like I said, deal with thing A instead of getting A, B, and C involved.
Right.
I don't think I would have had to go through as much chaos and mayhem as I did.
Yeah. Well, you've come out the other side now, right?
Live and learn.
And there's a lot of joy, that's happened and is happening. So
yeah,
I know you're on the path.
It came back around, and glad to be back home.
Good, awesome, man. It's so nice when you had called, and it was like I kind of remember. I think you had called Rosemary first. She's a big part of the office, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of men's I couldn't put back together, but this is one that I'm glad I was able to, and went for it. And
so this has happened a number of times with really good agents in the company that have that thought, and sometimes there's pressure to be recruited away, and the grass is greener, this and that, and it's not a practice of mine to just call and, hey, what happened, and beg and things like that. It's like, I put it all out there, and take it or leave it, and if it's meant to come around again, it'll come around again. And I was really excited when Rosemary said, hey, Frank called me, and we started the relationship back up again, and it's just been great. I wanted to ask you, when you did leave, what was there promises made and promises not kept, or was it just the environment that wasn't right, or what was it? Or was it just that there was so much chaos happening at that point where it wasn't really going to matter?
No, it would it was so much chaos where, like I said, my mindset was, all right, if I change everything, it's gonna just make everything better.
Mm-hmm.
And that wasn't the case. I mean, the company that I did go to made it sound like it was all, puppies and kittens. Wasn't like that at all. And when I did talk to Rosemary, that was one thing that I didn't have after I left. And I didn't know how to order title. I didn't know how to, I'm talking to mortgage companies while trying to go out to showings. Now, granted, I wasn't as busy as I was years prior, but all that stuff was new to me, and I didn't have anybody to go to in that office as far as like, hey, can you help me out with this or help me out with that? So that just became more overwhelming with the personal issues where I just completely had to get away from real estate.
So Rosemary does have that nurturing nature, right?
Oh, yeah.
Where not only is she taking care of your real estate deals, she's a transaction coordinator. She's also the voice of reason, like always, right? Have you ever met anybody that's as level as
she's
as
talked
she
me
is?
off the ledge more times than I could probably count.
Yeah, she's a real sweetheart, really special person. I'm very lucky to have her. I don't want to say that it was recruiting because she lives in my neighborhood. She lives right here with us.
Yeah.
But I recruited her off of the bus stop. We were putting our kids on the bus and we were talking. She goes, no, I don't want anything to do with real estate anymore, because she was already in the business,
she's been in
the mortgage end of it. But she started very, very slow, and we just worked, up
she
to.
juggles the whole office.
Yeah, she's incredible. But it was really nice when she got the call.
Yeah,
So
that was a 45-minute conversation, and I knew my plan was to be back home in the office, and I knew my first course of action to get there would have to be through Rosemary. So called her, 45-minute conversation, and then after talking to her and then talking to you, it was like, when we hung up that first time after talking for years gone by, I remember hanging up feeling like it felt like no time had passed at all. Yeah. After we talked.
Well, that's what old friends do.
Yeah.
Right. Isn't that how it is? Like when you haven't seen somebody in a long time, and it's just like you're right there.
Yeah. Felt like it picked up where it left off, and because I didn't know where that conversation could have went any way, and it went. It couldn't have gone better after that.
Well, I've been blessed and cursed with a lot of things in my life, but maybe one blessing is I know talent. I say, hey, Frank T's coming back. It's just like I looked at it as a great player, going to another team, and then we get that great player back.
Yeah,
and that's what I feel like.
The homecoming is always is always good.
So, what a path, man! It's really incredible, and that's you could never have predicted any of that, coming in. So. It's just amazing.
No, I couldn't predict it before I got into real estate. Then when I had the early success, I couldn't predict where it was, what direction it was going to go. Because when everything was good in 15, 16, 17, figured sky was the limit.
Right.
And, just rise from there. And it just went in opposite direction.
Yeah, but you get a chance to rebuild. And it's in that pain, that arena of pain that we all go through as human beings, that you really understand who you are, and you hopefully rise, and you did, and we're back, making buyers and sellers happy out there, and affecting the world of real estate, and. In your business, what's your main course of how you generate business?
Was still heavy on the referrals. Now social media is a lot bigger than it was back then. and a lot of the platforms are free, so you can advertise all you want. So I'd say referrals and social media are the two biggest.
And you use social media, the free versions, that would be Facebook and Instagram.
Yeah, different real estate groups, things
Right.
like that, just posting listings.
And does that generate? Is it more of a branding play, or does it actually generate people that seek you out through DMs and emails?
You get more messages and things like that from other agents when they have buyers, especially when the inventory's light. A buyer's agent might see your house,
Right.
your listing that you posted, and then they call you up saying, "Look, I got a buyer. Can I show it?"
Right. So that's really interesting. I don't think the new agents would really know that there's an undercurrent where there's not only cooperation with the MLS system, there's cooperation amongst the agents. What do you have?
Yeah.
What's coming up? And I think it's really important to, cultivate those relationships.
Yeah, it's not you can draw in new buyers because non-agents belong to these same group real estate groups, whether it's homes in South Jersey for rent or anything like that. You have buyers reaching out to you saying they are looking and are interested in my listing, and then you have the agents that are contacting you as well.
So you do social media. The referral would probably still be the predominance of the business, I would assume, right?
Yeah, the referral, when you get a call out of the blue from a number that you don't know, and as soon as you say hello, they tell you their name and how they're calling. So and so, you just sold my friend so and so a house about 6 months ago.
Aren't those the best calls?
Yeah, they truly are, because every time you satisfy one, another one comes in.
Because you come in pre-sold, right?
Yeah.
They already have an experience with somebody that they trust, and they're recommending you, and
Right.
it's like it makes it so much easier that way.
Yeah.
So your warm market, which are family and friends, social media. What would be a third way that you attract business?
I started doing. I only did it twice, but I tried the just picking a different certain zip code, and sending out postcards to
Okay.
those addresses, like within a couple neighborhoods, and you might just get calls out of curiosity, how much you think my house is worth, or this or that. But sometimes it comes to a listing appointment.
The so postcards is like more of a an analog type of marketing versus all the digital. So it's kind of a good, I guess, repositioning.
Yeah.
Where certain people love that.
Yeah, I mean, you have to go to your mailbox and get the mail. Whether you throw that postcard out right away, you're still seeing it. So maybe they start to throw it away, but say, you know what, I'll put it on the counter, and if we need that, we have it.
So another part of your business I've noticed of late is you work a lot with investors.
Yeah, since day one, I've worked with investors, some long-term, some short-term. Right now, I have two investors. One's more on the commercial side. The other one is all residential. And the difference between investors could be quality of work, integrity, things like that. So the current one that I'm with now is Fernwood Contracting. They not only do they put top quality materials in their house, they take pride in their quality of work, but they don't cut any corners. They get every proper permit open and closed, all their inspections, and that reflects on the agent when buyers come to look at it, and you have home inspections. When you list a house for an investor and you get the home inspection, and then you're blindsided that they looked to see if permits were pulled, they weren't. You want to run from those investors fast.
So there's different stratas of investors. There's investors that have money to buy houses cash, right? Then you have investors that don't have money to buy cash, and then they need, what would it be, hard money loans? Is that what they're typically getting?
Yeah, hard money loans, or if they can refinance their personal home just to get do the renovations on their project.
Right.
But a lot of people, a lot of first time investors go out and just want a house. They don't care if the house is falling down,
Right.
or if the house is $200,000 overpriced. They're going to throw money at it just so they can say they have a house. And when they start peeling the onion and finding out that more work needs to be done,
Right.
that's when the corners start getting cut.
Yep.
And you got to put a house on the market that's inferior to what it should be.
The ride for the investors has been quite smooth, if you ask me. Maybe you'll feel differently about it, but the market has risen across, and the investors are always going to complain, right, that the houses are too much money, that they need to purchase, that
Right.
need repair, right? They're always, because the money is really made in the buy, right? But the market has escalated in a really clear, steady path. And regardless of what they're paying at a given time, they've been able to make it. Even when they buy that house, it's still going to take them, 3 months, 4 months, sometimes 5 months to fix it.
Yeah.
And even if they thought that they overpaid for it, the market has caught it, right? And escalated it above what they thought their
Right.
final value would be.
Yeah, you run comps when they buy the house. They think they overpaid, but then when they comes time to list the house,
Right.
you run the new comps, and the market has gone up.
But it's so damn competitive, right? I think the general public doesn't know how competitive the investor market is. There's a lot of investors out there. There's a lot of contractors that, you have the real deal, like you said, investors, and then you have the newbies, and then you have the wannabes. And the wannabes are the toughest because they do cut the corners that way. But it's been quite interesting. There really hasn't been a downturn that's affected the investors at all. There hasn't been a whole lot of reason for them to not participate. Even though they're reluctant to participate sometimes.
Yeah.
And did you find that you have to coax them sometimes? Hey, just buy this place, right?
That's how it was before. But with Fernwood, they don't buy the $150,000, $200,000, $250,000 house, fix it up, and sell for $350,000, $400,000. They start in the $350s to $450s,
Right?
And that's the market that they go for.
That's smart.
So
right?
there's not a lot of investors that are at that price point.
Right.
The biggest thing I'm running into right now is inventory starting to pick up a little bit. Fernwood puts in product, whether it's countertops, flooring, roof, windows, doors, things like that. They put all the highest quality in. So our houses might be listed for a little bit higher, and we get tons of activity on it. But then we see the agent that showed our house went under contract on a house that's $30,000 less, but they're selling it for as is. It hasn't been updated or upgraded since the 80s or 90s.
Right.
So these buyers are settling for these inferior houses, not realizing that if you spend a little more, you don't have to put a dime into it.
Right.
You buy the house that's less expensive. 6 months down the line, you're replacing an HVAC, or you need new appliances, you need flooring, things like that. So that's what the obstacles are right now.
Fernwood is really, and I believe we're working with Chuck, right? Chuck, and he's he's a young guy, right? And he's really does outstanding work. And what I find really different about them is the permits part of it. How many houses have you shown buyers to where what happened to that wall?
Yeah.
Like that, there's a wall that just vanishes. You have a house from the 70s, right,
Yeah,
which was
that
all
with an open
traditional,
floor plan.
all boxed in, and all of a sudden it turns into an open floor plan. And then you ask, a couple questions to the other agent, or like, hey, did they get permits for that?
Yeah.
And it's like, what are you talking about? Like
Oh,
this
that
was
was 2 owners ago.
So it's like no, they didn't really design houses like that, and but that's what Fernwood has been really exceptional at, is they get professional architect to architect it out, and they bring it to the town for approval.
There's a plan going in. There's
Right.
not just throwing money on at an offer,
Right.
not knowing what you can and can't do to the
Right.
house.
So it's always this like cat and mouse game a lot of times with the investors, especially. And not to say that a homeowner couldn't do the same, rip out a wall.
Right.
But guess what? If it's not structurally sound, you could have a really big problem there.
Yeah.
And, because you've accepted that property and didn't ask the questions about permits and you go to resell that property, that's where it could rear its, head at that point as well. So, but they're very, very good about that. And you're right. There is class A, B, and C, redevelopment, and they're, class A for sure. You could just tell the quality workmanship that they do.
Yeah. There's pride in all their work. It's like you find a house that's 4-bed, 2.5 bath, but the whole neighborhood's a 4, 1.5. Well, this master bathroom never existed before.
Right. All of a sudden it just pops out of nowhere.
Yeah. This house has 2 bathrooms upstairs.
Permits? What do we need permits for?
No, we did that. Took us 2 weekends.
And that's where you run into, like you say, the corner cutters and, who are, just trying to, squeeze every dime out of it, not really worried about the customer,
Right.
Not worried about a long-term, relationship.
Yeah, and it's a shame. Buyers are they're seeing the nice shiny, surface inside, but not realizing what's behind those walls or anything like that. So the old saying sticks: you get what you pay for. I mean, I can't believe I got this house for $25,000 less than this remodeled house. But talk to me in a year and tell me if you didn't put that 25 grand into the house.
Tell me this: what's behind the gray and white color motifs in all these houses? Like, I could go online right now, and almost every renovation, it's gray carpet, white backsplash, white cabinets, and some kind of flooring that's the same color. It's all that color scheme.
It's all liquidation. It's all
Is that what it is?
It's all buy in bulk. It's rare to go in a house like you go into one of Fernwood's houses and you see a center island that has a quartz countertop with a colored cabinet underneath, different than the cabinet going around the kitchen. The backsplash might be black with a white grout, or it might be white with a black grout. Like even the vanities in the bathrooms, they have character and color. They're not just the off the shelf at Lowe's because it's new and looks new, that it'll suffice. Like, everything is all thought out well in advance and to have character.
I can't remember that color from the 70s, that green color that the appliances were.
Oh yeah.
I don't remember the name of that color, but is gray the new green?
It seems like it. It's like a couple years ago when it was tan. Everything was that tan and black granite with the tan cabinets and the tan walls. It evolved in the gray now, and that's what you see when you go into the run-of-the-mill flip job.
Like 25 years from now, are we going to say, "Oh my God, this is another one of these gray houses"? Like we say, like with the burnt orange carpets, from the 70s and things like that.
By then, it might be it'll be back to the white appliances with maybe a blue wall. Everything will be blue.
So this has been a lot of fun.
It has been.
Right. So I want to just maybe ask you a couple rapid fire questions and just kind of give me, one word answers, to these.
Shoot.
Favorite movie?
Goodfellas.
Goodfellas. Joe Pesci or
Robert De Niro.
De Niro.
Ray Liotta.
Liotta. Yeah. He was a great actor.
Yeah.
Yeah. He recently passed. Ray Liotta.
Not too long ago.
Your last meal on earth would be?
My favorite thing to eat ever is pizza, but that'd be a bad last meal. Probably not too filling. Probably nice chicken parm.
Chicken parm?
Yeah.
Any particular place?
Maybe home.
Well, home cooking.
Yeah.
All right. I'm with you there. What's your favorite? You're athletic, right? You play baseball. You get around pretty good that way. What's your favorite workout?
Probably just walking, doing a lot of walking, if that's a workout.
Walking is probably the best thing you could do.
Yeah.
You know, it's we'll do another podcast on or webcast on some health things that way. Your favorite sports team?
I'd go 2. I got the Phillies and the Buccaneers. I'm a 3 for 4 Philly guy.
Phillies. That's all right. All right. So the Buccaneers. No Brady, right? No Moss.
No Brady, and still made it to the playoffs.
Yeah, it's
this
amazing,
year.
right? That's amazing.
Yeah, 1 year out, and Baker took us.
Yeah, he looked pretty good. He looked pretty good.
Surprised me. I thought we signed him to get the first pick the next year.
Yeah, he might be the next Brady. You know, out of nowhere, you know, phenom, perhaps.
Hopefully. I had a lot of years in the basement until Brady got there, and I thought that's where we were heading now.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
it was a surprising year.
And your favorite musician?
Depending on the genre, if I'm going country, it's Toby Keith. If we're going rock, it's AC/DC.
Mm-hmm.
So it depends on the genre.
And so I've been listening to a lot of the Beatles lately.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. So it's I don't know why exactly, but I've always loved them. But for whatever reason, I'm really
You can relate to a lot of their
enjoying
songs.
the lyric. So before I ask my last question, where can people find you online?
My Facebook business page is Frank T's NJ Real Estate.
Okay.
Our website at thinkw.com.
Right.
And /Frank T's.
And then if they Google Frank Tees, right, and that's TEES.
There is a business page all set up.
Just Google it, right, and you'll come up everywhere.
Yeah, it's fun to do it sometimes. See if there's any like new things on me when I Google my name. There's real estate websites I never even knew existed that my name pops up and you click on it and I guess they copy everything from the other websites. It all says the same thing, but it's just different names of the website.
So when all is said and done, hopefully, you know, Frank Tees is 100+ years old. Looking back at the, 40, you're 40-some years old?
42. If I'm living that long, I get to see the next eclipse in this area in 2079.
And that would be awesome, right?
Yeah.
So the 100-year-old Frank Tees that has, you know, lived his life, what would your legacy be? What would you want people to remember you as being?
The comeback kid.
The comeback kid. Yeah, that's I
did
dig it.
come a long way.
The come a long way kid.
Yeah. Probably just if I'm that well known in the community in real estate, just you know, the guy everybody knows who his name is. You see his sign all over the place. I do get texts from friends and things like that that see my sign out there and I'll take a picture and send it to me. I'm like, thanks, I didn't know it was there. And they're like, no, we saw your sign, you know, in Moorestown or Marlton. And I'm like, oh, thanks, don't know who put that there.
In the Beatles theme, what I'm thinking of is the long and winding road. And that, I think, is fitting for the Frank Tees story. What do you think?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's the things that have gone on in my life in the last 10 to 12 years. Everybody asks me when I tell them the whole story in and out is you should write a movie because your life sounds like a movie.
Yeah. I think the first question they ask or you think to yourself is, how much time do you have?
Yeah.
You know? So it'd
probably be a mini series then.
But just think about how the knowledge that you've gained and how many people you could help, you know, with your life experiences.
Yeah.
You know, not just in real estate, but
if I knew then what I know now.
Isn't it the truth? But this, you know, second half of your year, you know, or second half of your life, you know, just imagine how amazing that could be with all of what you've experienced.
Yeah.
You know, so.
I'll wait and see.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. So, hey, Frank Tees, he's a tremendous agent, one of the tops in South Jersey. And I'm not just saying it because he's on my team, but, you know, of course I am a little partial to, you know, people that, you know, work very, very close with me and that are as talented as he. You could contact Frank Tees. We'll leave your contact number numbers here on screen, and that'll also be in the description below. Thank you for tuning in to Real Estate U, the guest series, and we'll see you on the next one.